What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 34 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the coolest dudes in video games, Colin Moriarty, and the return of Greg Miller.
I'm back to right the ship.
The return.
Oh my God,
I
things have been
saw
bad.
the comments. Nick Scarpino was in here farting up the joint.
He
Talking
farts.
about Axiom Verge this,
That was
Axiom
it.
Verge that.
All four topics of the show.
I played an hour of Dying Light. I know a lot.
It was. I mean, that was one topic, and then three of them were Axiom Verge. So it was good. It was a good show. People did want you back, so I'm happy that you're here.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I was gone.
You're here. You need to do a little something.
Thanks, Kevin. Way to be on the ball about that.
I like it that way.
Oh, thank you, Kev.
Okay, good. You're fixed.
Thank
you're
you.
fixed. I want you looking good on your return.
I'm
to the
glad
show.
you did.
This is very important.
Right.
You were doing it. You were fighting the good fight out there.
That's what I do.
While we were making all this content without you,
Yeah.
you were playing Metal Gear Solid 5.
I was playing Metal Gear Solid
We
5.
can finally talk about this.
Thank goodness.
That's really exciting.
Except
That's
the
gonna be the
ending.
second topic of the show.
Oh, okay.
We're not spoiling shit.
You got me super
We're just
excited
gonna-
for it.
We're gonna talk about the Metal Gear stuff.
Okay.
Oh, I'm excited about that too. We're gonna start with a bunch of other stuff, but first, I want to give some thank yous to some very special people, our Patreon supporters. You guys are the best. So thank you so much for supporting us here. We're thanking you here. All of you will be thanked one by one, personally, in my heart.
Via this, yes.
Yes, via this. And I would also like to thank Patreon supporter Mike Bithell
Oh.
for supporting us there, trying to promote his game. What?
Kevin's getting mad because now you got to put
Because-
two graphics on the
No,
screen.
I know. And you know how you do that? One on top of the other. Yeah.
What do you mean one on top of the other?
Make it smaller.
Make it no. Make it smaller. Just make them both go. Make them both.
Why don't
go.
you just put one down here and one up here?
Fine.
Sandwich
Get all
me in.
fucking crazy with
Now
that.
I'm like, it's like an ice cream sandwich.
You're moving around, so you know.
Don't move them. Make them nice
They're not gonna move. He
and
can't.
symmetrical.
He can't move them. He can't.
Kevin, you
move
don't have the skills to make that happen.
Yeah.
No, you don't have the skills necessary.
Shoot it up, explode it.
Don't explode.
can't
don't,
explode
don't,
it.
Okay.
You're still a novice. You're still a novice.
But no. I thought that. I knew that, Kevin. I wanted this to be a thematic thing because we were thanking our Patreon users, no matter what tier they're at.
Right.
So anyway, back to it. Mike Bithell created this game Volume. We got the poster here. We've been talking about it a lot.
Yeah.
Have you got to play it yet?
No,
Okay.
because
And
Mr. Bithell. Well, actually, I played it. I put a Let's Play up on PC.
Yes.
But
yes.
of course, PC. Come on. Why don't I
Who
just play it on
cares?
my ColecoVision? You know what
Yeah,
I mean? I want to
exactly.
play it on the ultimate platform, the PlayStation Vita.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike Bithell, very forthcoming, said it's not quite there yet. Put it out on PS4. It's still cross all
Yeah,
that
so that's
jazz.
the thing. It's on PlayStation 4, coming to PS Vita, PC, and Mac. And it combines a core story starring Andy Serkis and Danny Wallace with an editor that lets you make and play content as part of a community of stealth game fans. For more information, follow @VolumeGame on Twitter.
That's where I found out the news that
Yes.
it's coming to Vita later. I liked what I played of PC. I fought the urge to play it on PlayStation 4, but mainly the urge was easy to fight because I came back with Metal Gear. And so it's just like, if I'm turning on the PlayStation 4, Metal Gear has my soul.
But this is inspired by Metal Gear. in a lot
Oh,
of
right.
ways.
No. I'm totally into Volume. I'm totally down with Volume. I just need to platinum Metal Gear first.
I get it. Totally get it. And then once it comes on the Vita, you'll get in there, you'll platinum that, everything will be good. It's going to be a glorious, glorious time.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Kind of Funny Gamescast. If you didn't know, we talk about video games and stuff on it. And every day, topic by topic, over on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, you get to hear them. But if you want it early, and you should want it early, this one is worth $1. You go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. You pay a couple dollars, you do some stuff, you get some stuff. It's great. That's how business works. And it's
the
really
market.
exciting. Yeah.
That is how business works.
And if you want your name here, all nimbly bimbly, I don't know if it's still here. It might be. It might not.
Nimbly bimbly.
It's one of the options. So you should do that. And it's really cool. And there's exclusive episodes every month. And those are amazing. Recently, we've been on a real roll
Yeah.
of putting out some stuff.
A rigmarole.
Oh, the rigmaroleist of rigmaroles. So that's been fun. But getting right to it. Topic 1 today is Until Dawn. This is a game that I'm very excited about, that I wasn't excited about until you sold me on. I want you to sell us even more.
Sure.
Why do I need to play this when there's so many things I want to play? Metal Gear, it's here. It's coming.
Metal
I can
Gear's
play
here
it.
Until Dawn's even sooner. Yeah, so ask questions. I know you guys haven't played it, so if you want to know, you can let me know. Until Dawn.
Do I see boobs?
No.
What?
I only ask because it's a teen horror movie.
yeah, exactly. That's a little
You
upsetting
get
to me.
pretty close. I mean,
Okay, cool. That's all that matters.
Do I see a dick?
No, I've played
don't
through
see
it.
dicks.
I've played through it
know, it's weird.
2 times, 1.5 times. I'm playing through it again with my girlfriend, and I've made decisions that have gotten some of the girls. Well, she's making a decision actually that have gotten the girls more naked than they were. Like there are scenes that happen, but I don't know if there's there could be total nudity in it, but I don't know
I
what I
bet
could have
there
done
isn't.
to get this particular woman out of her clothes.
If I had a nickel.
So, Until Dawn is a PlayStation 4 exclusive from Supermassive Games. It's been in development for a very long time. It was originally a PS3 game that was using PlayStation Move, and if you go look at the old trailers for it, the game looks markedly different. One of the things that came up on Colin and Greg Live today about Until Dawn that I was loath to mention at the top is that I think Until Dawn might be PlayStation 4's most beautiful game.
Burn.
It's consistent. There's like some uncanny valley shit going on in it with some of the characters sometimes, especially one of the characters.
Because they do all the facial capture on
exactly.
it. Hayden Panettiere's in this game,
Yeah.
so you already know what Hayden Panettiere looks like. So to see the digital version of her
weird.
maybe doesn't match up with
Exactly.
the Nashville.
Exactly. That said, I feel like the character. So there's interstitial scenes, and I don't want to get too into that in between the chapters that look real. There's a character you meet that you've never seen before in any of the trailers. And there's there's these scenes with this particular character, and it looks fucking real. So I want to put that out there. I was like, I couldn't believe how good it looked. But just the lighting, the environments and stuff, it's just a very pretty game. And the reason I say it's so beautiful is because, and The Order looks beautiful. The Last of Us looks beautiful. These are beautiful games. It's on that level, I think.
Gotcha.
And it all runs. It's running on the Killzone Shadowfall engine and from Guerrilla, and it just looks really, really pretty. So I just want to throw that out there really quick because I think that's an understated thing. I think the game is gorgeous. I played it and I was shocked by how good it is. I think it's a great game. It's one of my favorite games of the year by far. There's nothing like it on the market. It is an adventure game. It's if you're a PlayStation fan, you know Quantic Dream's games pretty well. Think Quantic Dream, but think in terms of Beyond Two Souls anyway, way better. And not as good. It's comparable, I think, in quality to Heavy Rain. It's just that it doesn't. Heavy Rain takes itself very seriously. This game really doesn't. It's serious in the moment, but it's full of tropes and horror movie tropes and stuff like that. It's about 8 kids that go, and I'm not spoiling anything because if you really don't want to know anything about Until Dawn, you should just not watch this video. And I respect that completely. It takes place. It starts a year before the events, and this is what we played in our Let's Play. The tutorial is about. The tutorial of the game shows how these twin girls die.
Oh, okay.
And they are all up at this cabin. There's 8 kids plus the 2 girls, so there's 10 of them. And the 8 kids play a prank, or some of the kids play a prank on one of the girls, thinking that one of the guys wants her or whatever. There's like this whole miscommunication.
I love this.
She runs out of the house into the snow, and her sister runs after her, and it's teaching you how to play the game basically at this point. And no matter what you do, the girls are going to die. And that's why it's not really a spoiler. It's just it is what it is. From that point on, every choice you make in the game really does have consequence, and there's different layers and levels of consequence in the choices you make. So the game chronicles each of these 8 characters you play as all of them at different times, and it chronicles their relationships with each other. So it measures how you're doing with other people. It measures like your own statistics in terms of like your honesty, your courage, your intelligence, all that kind of stuff based on the choices you make. And then there's these overarching things called the butterfly effect. Which is a real thing, that are tracked based on the choices you make. So to say, like, when you make a really super consequential choice, not just like a choice that's like secondary to the story, but a really important one, a butterfly icon appears on the screen. And then you can go into the menu and look, and it'll say, like, you know, Mike did this, therefore, and then, like, you don't know what happened yet. And there's a bunch of these kinds of sequences. So the beauty of the game is
Can I
that
ask
it's
my first question.
Sure, of course.
So with that spelling out now, when you go through in your next Let's Play or your next playthrough, does it still show that? So like you can see like whatever your line through to the end of it on Mike's story or whatever is there, but then you see that if you make the choice here, then it starts filling another one. But can you still see the old choices?
It's unclear.
Okay.
Because so when you beat the game, you can go back into different chapters and start. It's actually a lot like Heavy Rain in the sense that like from the moment you start, it'll probably presumably erase everything going forward.
Sure.
And you go chapter by chapter. I played through all the way again, and then I just deleted that data and I played again.
Gotcha.
So to answer your question, I don't know.
Okay.
But the beauty and the brilliance of the game is that it's full of tropes and full of horror teen tropes. Very silly. It's like, why don't the lights work? Why are you in this cabin at all? Because basically, and I'm sorry I'm jumping around. I wasn't really prepared to talk about it so in depth, and I do apologize about that. But the story after the girls die takes place a year later, and everyone goes back to the cabin, and it's a way for them to like kind of.
It's a bad scene.
It's totally silly. It's like, why would you go back? But they're all
I
like,
love this though. I mean, this sounds so good. This sounds exactly like those stupid '90s slasher movies.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
My question to you
Sure.
is, how long is it? And I don't mean that in like I don't need to know exact hours or whatever. But is it too long?
No, it's a perfect length. I think
good.
it's 10 chapters, so it's 11 including the tutorial. And the chapters can take anywhere, depending on the choices you make, from 15 to 20 minutes to like over an hour. The game took me, I mean, I know you're not literally asking, I want to say the game took about 8 hours to beat.
But what I'm asking, so you kind of already answered this, but that 8 hours, like with those type of movies, we don't need them to be 2 hours long. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like those movies could be hour, 10 minutes, in and out, and it's like you got what you needed. Do those 8 hours feel like they should for that type of game version of those movies?
I think like almost any horror movie, the more you learn, the less exciting it becomes. So I think I think that it's like I've said a million times, and I hate to repeat it. It's like most horror movies just don't end very well, or horror stories. Whether it's The Shining is a good example of this. Rosemary's Baby is a fucking perfect example of a horror movie that is fucking awesome until 5 minutes before the end. You know, so it's not like they have a hard time wrapping these things up, and I don't think this movie is necessarily immune to that. The brilliance, as I'll get to in a minute, is that the game can end in a million different ways depending on the choices you made. So the 8 kids go back. The 8 surviving kids go back as a way to like kind of celebrate and remember these kids and stuff. And it's snowy. And by the way, the game takes place in British Columbia, Canada. Not quite. So it's about Canadian kids, which I really like. I mean, I just think
Degrassi.
It's like Degrassi, very good. But I like how it doesn't default to like the United States. I mean, the studio's British, but it doesn't default to like the United States, and you know, they're Canadian kids, and I think that's pretty cool. First of all, they all go back, and the reason it's so long, you're talking about 90 minutes is a good length, or 2 hours maybe for a horror movie. The reason it's 8 hours is because you get to play as all of the characters, and they all have their own thing going on, and they come together and leave and come together and all that kind of stuff. So it's the way they interact with each other and who's dead and who's alive at the point in which you're playing.
So is it like a meanwhile type situation where
yeah,
like,
so
you're doing this, meanwhile Mike's doing that, meanwhile
exactly. Each chapter will show you most of the characters, not all the characters, doing things concurrent to each other.
Cool.
So it's not, so chapter 1 is like, and each chapter is like, so chapter 1 is 10 hours until dawn. Chapter 2 is 9 hours until dawn. Chapter 3 is 8 hours until dawn, etc. and so on.
What chapter do they go, okay, let's split up?
Moment 2.
They split up almost immediately.
Oh, classic.
But like you're split up almost immediately, like they're all coming up the mountain separately, like and all this kind of stuff. So the brilliance of the game, and I hope I'm explaining this well, tell me if I'm not.
You're doing it well.
Is the brilliance of the game is making choices. The game's easy to play, and there's no fail state. The game can't end. Like if you make, there's no choice you're gonna make where it's like game over. Try again. If you make a choice, someone's gonna die or something's gonna happen, but it's permanent. And so there's no way to fuck the game up.
Okay.
Like the choices you make are the choices you make, and you can't go back and erase them. The game saves often, and you'll see little things like that pop up with not only the butterfly effect, but it'll say like status update. You made a choice that means you made a choice that will affect the status of your own statistics or your relationship with someone else. So there's like all of these little things that happen constantly. You're seeing that thing up there.
Here's my next question.
Yeah.
Because you talked about this on Colin Moriarty Live. You showed it to me before I left with the relationship screen. What does that do exactly? Because it seems to me like you'd be making these choices. You're playing as this character and you're trying to survive and you're trying to get away. Why does it matter what Mike thinks about me? Is it like that we could maybe team up later or not team up or?
I'll give you an example. This is a spoiler, so I want, but it's the only way for me to.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do the head pat. This means
So this
I'm
is
gonna
a
pat
spoiler.
my head and we're going to the spoiler. When I tap it again, we're out of the spoiler. So you can just mute it.
Mike is interested in this one blonde girl, not Hayden's character, but like another blonde girl. He can treat her really well and be really nice to her.
Yeah.
This later on down the line gets her to like. So the first time I played it, we were like kidding around. We were having a snowball fight. All these kinds of things.
You whitewashed her face.
I'm playing as her, and I nail him with a bunch of snowballs. Then he like gets on top of her and like rolling around or whatever. And I opt to kiss Mike. Right.
Oh.
And this all happens, however. But then when we get to a cabin later on, like two chapters later, they're making out and fooling around, but she has all of her clothes on. Right. Then several chapters later, she's in peril or whatever, and her injuries seem to be contingent on some of the clothes she was wearing. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but so let me give you the other example.
Sure.
So I played the same thing with Cheryl when my girlfriend and I were playing it, and we played it, the snowball fight and all that whole scene a little bit differently. When I was fooling around with her, she was in her bra and panties.
Was she?
And then
Your
when
girlfriend?
No.
Oh. Sorry.
The girl, the blonde girl. And
Yeah.
then when she got in trouble later, she was like all cut up and fucked up.
Oh wow, interesting.
And I was like, huh. So like these relationships seem to have, whether they're tangent.
I'm tapping us
Okay.
out.
So whether these
Welcome back.
instances are tangential or not, I don't know.
Sure.
but it seems like there was some consequence based on just little things I was doing. Of course, the butterfly effect choices are the most major ones of all.
Right.
But there's the relationships you have with each other seem to affect the way you play the game. There's another thing that affects the way you play the game. There are multiple different kinds of collectibles, and I love collectibles. There are things called totems that you find. There's 5 different types of totems, and they show you the future. When you look at them, and only like little glimpses of the future. So you can see a possible way you're going to die, a possible way you can save someone, a choice you can make. But these are all hypotheticals based on what happened so far in the game.
Wait, is that like, do they show you, the player, or do like
They
just
show the
character?
character. So they'll like show, if I'm Mike and I'm picking up a totem, it might show Mike getting killed.
But I mean, does Mike know that?
No,
Okay,
like
okay,
it
okay.
doesn't. It doesn't seem. It doesn't.
I thought
don't.
you meant as like the PlayStation Eye turn on. Just show Colin like a fucking rock hitting him in that.
No, I mean, like, is this a story?
It
element?
doesn't
Sure.
seem like he's aware. They don't react to the totems.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
But then there are clues you find. You can find pictures and all sorts of things like paperwork, all sorts of stuff. And I was talking to my friend Alexa. We all know Alexa from GameSpot. She reviewed the game for them, and she was saying that she had played through once, not finding anything. Like just intentionally, like not collecting anything, and it affects the players' the kids' understanding of what's happening.
Interesting.
So there's all of these different layers of storytelling in the game. I think what I said about this game, kind of to wrap it up a little bit, is that they've out Quantic Dream, and Quantic Dream should look at this game because this is a playable, immersive, interesting, unique, dynamic, choice-based game that will require you to play it multiple times. And like I said, and I don't think this is a spoiler saying too much, any permutation of those 8 kids can survive conceivably. And there are trophies attached to none of them surviving, and there are trophies attached to all of them surviving. And to give you a little context, when I played through the game organically, not knowing what I was doing, just making the choice I was making, 2 of them survived. So those 2 kids can live or die, and the other 6 can live. Like there's something really special and deep and unique about this game. I really think it's quite excellent.
Nice.
And I'm really interested I wish you guys played it because I'm super interested to see what you think because it's so playable. That's the other thing that I want to really relate to you guys. My girlfriend is not into video games. She doesn't give a fuck about them. I try to show her things. She's interested every once in a while, but like it's very, and this is what I was telling Greg on Colin and Greg Live. She just, as you know,
Super Stacker Deluxe.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it. That's basically it. Very good, Greg. And Nick, can you? No, never mind.
Can we get some paper towels?
No, I got a shirt.
So I showed her this game. I went to Napa Friday night and I was showing her the game and I was like, I think you're really going to enjoy this. And we ended up playing. Sorry, I'll just let this finish since this is a distraction.
All right, come on. You want a new shirt?
No, I got it. Thanks, Chief.
Aren't you cold?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Remember that the Roger Craig Smith one where I spilled an entire water over myself? I'm fine. Cleanest estate.
If you got the totem of this, you would have been okay.
It would have given you some guidance.
Yeah.
So what I was saying was, she indulged me and we started playing the game or whatever, and we got several chapters in. And she's like, she wanted to go to bed or whatever, and I was like, okay, we had a good time. I got to show her the game. She seemed to really. I was playing it. I was letting her make all the choices. Some of the choices, by the way, are snap choices. Like you have to make them quick. Some of the other ones, the game will just stay there until you make a choice. But there's a lot of them. There's lots of choices, scores of them, and the next night. So that was Friday night. The next night on Saturday night, we were just watching TV. She's like, you want to play until dawn? And I was like,
I've won.
I was like, really? And she's like really into it. Cool. She's really into it. So I feel like I tell you this story
with her.
No, not yet.
Okay.
I tell you the story only because it seems to have some interest for the people that aren't interested in games. It's a very accessible, very easy to play game. Again, you can give anyone a controller. You can't fail. Like you can't fail. There's no game over. So the only because she was asking me an interesting question. I was really surprised by the depth of this question, even though it's an easy question to ask. She's like, what is the intent? Like, are you supposed to try to play to save everyone? Are you supposed to try to play to kill everyone? And I'm like, no, you're supposed to just play the game. You don't know the choices you're making, whether they're good or bad. There are catastrophic things that happen when you think that you're doing good things in the game, which I love. Because it gives you agency, but removes the intention behind the agency, which I think is kind of cool. So I don't want to ramble too much about the game. I recommend highly that people play this game. I think it's fantastic. And I think it's going to be a sleeper hit. And I'm shocked that Sony isn't putting a lot of like marketing weight behind it because I think it's been in development for a long time. It couldn't have been cheap, and I think that they should really try to sell this game to more people. I think it's going to be a hit, and I think that Supermassive might have a series on their hands. And I'm not saying they're going to make another game with these kids because they're all fucking dead at the end anyway. If you play it a certain way, they might all live. I'm just saying, like, this engine works, this formula works, this ability to make choices work. There's a lot of QTs in the game and stuff, which I know people won't like too, but all of this works. Keep making them.
Yeah, before sunset.
Before sunset.
Just keep going.
Here's the question. So you're playing through all this and doing all this stuff. What is the gameplay? You're saying, she's into it. It's not really, she's not into normal games. Is it not like picking up things and examining them? Is it not trying to figure out how to open that door? Or is it just like fucking full on, you're running the entire time? What's going to happen?
No.
And what's the difference between it and Telltale games? Because that's the one thing that I'm not clear on.
So, all right, so let me answer those one at a time. What you're doing in the game is you have a limited array of what you can do at any given time. It's not totally open world or anything like that. But like, for instance, you're in like their cabin. It's a beautiful building, right? And it's like 3 stories. There's a basement, all that kind of stuff. And you can generally walk around it and do whatever you want, but some of the doors will be locked or whatever. So you can like find clues and stuff, or you can just go right to the next point. Mm-hmm. But there's like never enough where it's like, okay, go do this or go do this. It's more like, this is basically the task at hand. Is there anything ancillary to you that you can find that might make it more interesting? Okay, let's do that. The game also is very cutscene heavy, which I think is fantastic too. So you're playing it and you're walking down a path. Then you might stop to talk to someone. You make a few choices. Then there's a cutscene and all this kind of stuff. So that's what's happening. To your point about Telltale games, it's different from Telltale games in A, that it runs. B, it doesn't give you as many choices. So it's not like you usually only have 2 choices.
Cool.
Do this or this, like run or hide. Go left, go right, like that kind of thing. So it doesn't give you the depth of choices, but the game the fidelity in which the game runs is way better than a Telltale game. And it's not episodic, obviously. At least, and I don't know if Telltale games have improved radically over the last 18 months since I last played one or 2 years. But I mean, Telltale games just, in my experience, just weren't very good in terms of the game. I mean, that they're fun to play. They're well, they're well written and stuff. So that's the difference. I think that it's just. That's basically Until Dawn. I mean, I don't know if any of that made sense.
No,
but
it made sense.
But it's a fun game. It's just so unique. It's so different. I really am so excited for this game to go into the wild because I'm really interested to see what people think of it. It's a little divisive. It's floating around an 8 on Metacritic right now, which means it's great. But some people are giving it like 9.5s. Our friend Jim Sterling gave it a 9.5. Some people like Polygon gave it a 6.5. So I mean, there's pretty much anywhere in that space.
Yeah.
The thing that I said this on Colin and Greg Live, I think Until Dawn, part of your enjoyment of Until Dawn will be measured in how serious you take yourself. I really think it's the kind of the part of the equation. If you're going to go into the game with high pretension, thinking you're going to get a fucking AAA caliber horror story that isn't making fun of itself and isn't full of tropes, and it's a teen horror movie. Like, but I mean, enjoy it for what it is.
You go into that the same way you go into those movies, and you're going to enjoy it for what it is.
Exactly. And I think I don't want to say that people that scored it lower didn't go into it with that, but I do think that there's a level of pretension with some of these kinds of games where it's like, well, it's not a fucking Quantic Dream game. That's but it's not.
I'm trying to tell that story.
In terms of the level of storytelling, it's not a Quantic Dream game. In terms of the mechanics of what it is doing, it is surpassing the Quantic Dream games.
Interesting. Can't wait to play it.
Yeah. So I encourage everyone to at least if you don't trust me, I understand, read a review or try to find the people you relate to, or whatever, see what they think of the game. But
if you're watching this, I think they trust you, Colin, and probably relate to you.
Really, this might be the most interesting thing that's ever happened to me on any of the kind of funny content we've done. That you were so unsure of your selling of this. Like multiple times you've been like, I don't know if I'm doing a good job explaining it. You're doing a great job explaining
Thanks,
it.
yeah.
But it's weird to me that you think you're not.
Well, it's because I'm used to talking. We talk on Colin and Greg this morning, for instance, about you have your shooters, you have your Quantic Dream games mean something, you have your platformers and all that. There really isn't anything like this. Like, so it's weird to talk about it in a way that is authoritative when I don't really have anything to learn from, because like what other game exists like this? Like that's a teen horror film that you play. There's nothing like it. So it's hard to know for sure. I'm not trying to sell the game. I'm trying to make sure I'm selling it in a way that's the salient points are getting out. And it's just so the game is so vast and so complex, even though it's simple to understand, simple to play, that it's the underlying mechanics that I want to make sure people understand, the butterfly effect and all that kind of stuff. I think I'm glad Sony. What's smart about Sony? We talk about Sony seeing things in embryonic states. Like with Remember Me is a good example. That was supposed to be a PlayStation exclusive that they abandoned, right? And Capcom ended up publishing and ended up being mediocre. They saw something in this game where they're like, you know what? Just redo it. Just don't release it on PS3. Get rid of the motion controls and just do it again. And I think they saw it, and I think it was wise because they were like, there's something special about this game. one of the cool things I like too is that every once in a while the game will tell you not to move, and it's like, well, how can you do that? And it's like the controller icon will appear, like the triangle in front of the controller, and you just like hold the controller like this, and if you move, like, so you could be hiding from the bad guy. I won't spoil any more of that for you who that is or whatever, but. And like if you move, then they'll see you or whatever. But like if you just hold it still, then the bad guy will like, walk past. There's just a lot of like really weird Twitch kind of things that happen in the game.
So
where
like,
you expect it to
it
be
locks in, like you can't just put it on the table because it knows
like,
where your hands are. Okay.
So the second I was playing it, I was anticipating. Then I put the controller down.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like a bunch of just random quick time events and all that kind of stuff. It's very clever. So I'll end it there. I please tweet at me or write in the comments. Let me know what you think of the game. When by the time you see this, it should be just about ready to go. So. Or by the time you see this, you should have played it already, actually.
Is it out tomorrow for us?
The 25th.
Okay.
And this will go up for our Patreons on the 27th, and then everyone else 31st. Like the 31st.
Yeah.
So, I hope you enjoy. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I was shocked. I knew that the game was going to be good and unique. I had a feeling about it especially after our Let's Play, where I was like, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect it to be great.
Yeah. That's exciting.
Mm-hmm.